I'm now in CaptionHub, and on the left-hand side of my screen is the primary or client team. That's Gold Media. Gold Media is the team who needs work done on their captions and translations. On the right-hand side of my screen, I have vendor Alpha. They are Gold Media's LSP. Now, to create my automation with Connect, I'll need to navigate to my client team's menu cog here and select into automation. We'll create our automation by giving our template a name and selecting create. And we'll now start configuring the details of our automation template here. So upon project source, which is currently set to the UI, so that's upload of a video from a local file or an API call, CaptionHub will create a project, and once it's done that, I want it to immediately create original captions. Once those original captions are created, I want to opt to send them via CaptionHub Connect, so I'll select like so. When I've received captions back from CaptionHub Connect, I'm going to automatically create translations. And before I continue, I just want to call out that you can determine the level of human review that you want to have here along the way. So if I decided that instead I wanted this on approval of those original captions, so I wanted a human in the loop and wanted somebody to review and then approve those original captions before creating translations, I could have certainly chosen that. In this case, I'm going to configure an automation that is mostly hands-off. Continuing on, once those translations are created, I wish to automatically send those out via CaptionHub Connect. And when my translations have been received back from the vendor, we'll then stop or end the automation. I'll go ahead and click Save. And there are a few additional details within my automation that I'll need to configure. Let's start with original captions. I'd like to set my transcription provider to Speechmatics. I know that the language for my particular projects are going to be in English UK, and I have a custom dictionary that I'd like to consistently apply, so I'll select that here. Now I'll need to toggle Enable CaptionHub Connect for original captions. Setting this to on is going to allow me to send these original captions to my vendor, Alpha, which I'll select here as step 1. Now, in this example, I'm sending transcriptions to one vendor, that's Alpha LSP. But if I had additional established relationships and I perhaps required an additional vendor as part of my workflow, I could certainly enable that below. I'll go ahead and select Save and then move over to configure the details within the Translations tab. I'll need to select New Translation Group. I'm going to set my empty provider as Google. And I know that there are 4 languages that I want to translate into, so I will select those here. Again, I'll need to toggle on the Enable CaptionHub Connect for Translations, which is going to allow me to send these translations to Alpha LSP as soon as they've been created. I'll go ahead and select Save and Exit, and that is the automation. Again, it can certainly be built upon depending on the use case, languages, and your vendor requirements. But for this demo, I'm going to go ahead and set this automation now to active, which will allow me to begin applying it to new projects. I'm now on my projects page where we will upload a video and apply the template that we just created. Here I have a video that I'm pulling in locally, and you'll see that I can select here the automation template that we just configured together, and I'll select Create Project. What we're doing now is pulling that project in, and once we've done so, we'll then automatically create original captions with Speechmatics, and you'll recall that we'll also apply the custom dictionary that we selected as part of the automation's configuration. You'll see that my project is currently being transcribed, and once original captions are there, we'll automatically send those original captions to Alpha, Gold Media's LSP, who will be able to edit those original captions and do their work. We'll give it a few moments for that transcription to be complete. Wonderful. Now you see that original captions have been created and returned. What will happen just momentarily is that these original captions will be sent over to the LSP, and you see that change has taken place because the CaptionHub Connect status has changed to now reflect that this request has been sent to Alpha LSP. If I come into the vendor's view and quickly refresh their page, you'll see that Alpha now has the project available within their team to begin working on, and they'll also have been notified via email to action on these original captions. In order for Alpha to begin working on these original captions, they'll first need to accept the CaptionHub Connect request, and they'll do so by clicking here, selecting accept, and submit. You'll notice that on the client side, they see that Alpha LSP has now accepted this CaptionHub Connect request. Returning to the vendor view, the vendor Alpha can now select into these English UK original captions and begin editing their work. And that will include taking advantage of a whole host of editing tools that they have available to them to refine these original captions. For the purpose of this demo, I'm going to go ahead and approve these captions now, like so. I will return to the project page. And now that I'm done editing those original captions, I, as Alpha, am going to submit these to the client, like so. Now remember that behind the scenes, what's happened is that this has routed the original captions back to the client team, Gold Media, but as soon as it's come back, we've actually created those translations that we defined in our automation via MT, Google in this case, and those translations will go straight back out to Alpha, who will then be able to review and edit those translations. Now we see the CaptionHub Connect status telling us that the request has been sent to Alpha LSP, and if we navigate here to our translations view, we see that the request is now available and ready for Alpha to begin working on. Like we saw before, Alpha will need to accept the request, at which point they can begin working on the translations using the editing tools they have within the caption editor to refine those translations. When they're done refining and reviewing translations, they will approve the subtitles, like so. I'll return back to my project here. At this stage, I, as Alpha, am ready to return these French subtitles to Gold Media. To do that, I will submit this to the client, like so. You'll see at this stage the client has accepted the submission from Alpha LSP, and they are still awaiting for the remaining translations to be sent over. Once all translations have been returned, Gold Media can determine what they'd like to do next, which may be exporting those subtitles or rendering them onto the original file.